Hey Tech Fam, welcome back to Analyze with Casey. You've made it this far through our equipment series, and today we're wrapping it all up with the final components of the radiographic unit that haven't been covered in depth yet. If you're prepping for the ARRT boards, recertification, or just brushing up, this episode is your golden ticket. We'll walk through the induction motor, manual exposure controls, tube support, and even heat unit management. Yep, it's all here. Let's dive in. All right, first up, the induction motor. You've heard of rotating anodes, right? That rotation is powered by the induction motor. It has two parts, the stator and the rotor. The stator is a series of electromagnets located outside the X-ray tube's glass envelope. The rotor is found inside the envelope and is connected directly to the anode. When you prep an exposure and hear the whirring sound, that's the stator generating a rotating magnetic field to spin the rotor. This spinning action allows the anode to disperse heat more effectively because the electron stream doesn't hit the same spot every time. So why does this matter? Because high heat equals tube damage. A rotating anode supported by a healthy induction motor prevents burnout and prolongs tube life. If your motor's failing, you might hear unusual noises or notice sluggish spin up. That's your cue to alert maintenance before costly damage happens. Board tip. Questions may ask you to identify which part of the X-ray tube spins and how heat is managed during long or repeated exposures. So let's talk about manual exposure settings. Even though AEC automatic exposure control is awesome for routine work, every rad tech needs to be fluent in manual settings. This gives you total control in situations where AEC might not cut it. You adjust three main variables: MA, your milliamperage, that controls the number of electrons flowing from the cathode to the anode. Higher MA equals more X-rays equals more exposure. Your kVp, which is your kilovolt peak, controls the energy or penetration power of the X-rays. Higher kVp equals more penetration and lower contrast. Time, seconds or milliseconds, duration of the exposure. Here's how they work together. MA times time equals mass, that's our milliamperage seconds, which directly impacts receptor exposure. kVp, on the other hand, affects both the contrast and the ability to penetrate dense anatomy. When do you use manual exposure? Pediatric patients, smaller anatomy, and sensitivity to radiation require precise manual control. Trauma cases. This causes unreliable positioning and it may throw off AEC chambers. Mobile or surgical settings where AEC may not be available, always consider ALARA. Use the lowest possible dose to get your diagnostic image. If you're new to manual settings, practice different scenarios with phantom images to get comfortable. Here's a board tip. Expect questions where you'll be asked to select optimal manual techniques for different body parts, patient sizes, or clinical scenarios. Let's move to the tube support systems and safety features. You can't produce a quality image if your tube isn't where it needs to be. Common support systems include ceiling support systems, most common in hospitals, allow full range tube motion over and around the patient. Floor-to-ceiling systems, these are good for smaller or specialty clinics. Mobile units or C-arm systems, these are common in surgery or trauma. They offer real-time imaging. Here's some safety features you need to know. Collimator interlocks. This prevents X-ray production unless properly aligned. Automatic collimation. In digital systems, the collimator adjusts to the receptor size. SID indicators and locks. These ensure correct source-to-image distance. If the lock is off, your image could be misaligned or non-diagnostic. Here's a board tip. Know how support systems affect workflow and image quality. They may test your understanding of setup time, mobility, and safety. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of heat units. HU. Every time you make an exposure, your tube heats up. Too much heat equals downtime, or worse, permanent damage. Your heat unit formula. Your heat units. HU equals kVp times MA times time times generator factor. It's quite the formula. So here's some generator factor examples. If you have a single phase, that's 1. A 3-phase 12 pulse is 1.41. A high frequency is 1.45. You'll usually find cooling charts in the user manual or on the control console. These charts help you track heat buildup and cool down time between exposures. So why does that matter? If you're doing high volume work like multiple chest x-rays or a long fluoroscopy procedure, you can easily exceed your tube's heat tolerance. If you don't allow proper cool down, you risk cracking the anode or damaging the bearings. Here's an example question. You performed 4 exposures using 90 kVp, 200 mA, and 0.25 seconds on a high-frequency unit. How many total heat units were generated? Here's our answer. 90 times 200 times 0.25 times 1.45 times 4 equals 26,100 heat units. Here's a pro tip. Listen for cooling fans and never disable safety timers that enforce tube cooldown intervals. Before we wrap up, let's do a lightning-fast recap of the other major components we've covered throughout this radiographic unit series. X-ray production and tube construction, we covered in episode 4. You learned how thermionic emission, Bremsstrahlung, and characteristic radiation work together to generate X-rays. Filtration and beam restriction, episode 4, we covered how aluminum filters and collimators reduce patient dose and improve image contrast. AEC systems, we covered this in episode 7. We broke down photo timers, backup timers, and exposure compensation. Image receptors, we covered those in episode 8. From CR to DR, you now know the differences between PSP plates, direct versus indirect conversion, and technologies like CMOs and CCD. Each one of these episodes builds a strong foundation for mastering your boards or research journey. Rewatch them, make flashcards, quiz yourself, whatever it takes to lock this knowledge in. And that's a wrap, Tech Fam. Now you've officially covered all components of the radiographic unit, from induction motors, manual exposure, tube support systems, to heat management. And now you've refreshed the rest of the puzzle. Use this episode as your go-to reference and share it with classmates or colleagues who are on the same path. If you have more topics you'd like broken down, drop a comment. Your success is what drives this channel. Want to use the radiography-trained AI study coach I just built? You don't have to build your own. I've made mine available for free. Just make sure you're subscribed, then drop a comment that says I'm in, and I'll reply with a private message access link to the custom GPT. You've got this. Now go crush that exam and be the rad tech rockstar I know you are.